So this is Wanda Russell. For those of you who do not know her, she is our director of communications. She handles a ton of our like marketing and PR stuff, and she is the sort of the brains behind everything we do leading up to a release to let you know about it, and then after a release to make you more informed about it. All of our communications that we do, including this stream, this is all under Wanda's purview. And man, did you and your team do a ton leading up to this update?
Oh man, it's a team effort. Always. I mean, everyone that you see here is brings it to you, and it's beyond our team. You know, everyone wears a lot of different hats in this studio, right? Like,
Yeah.
Joe's talk about some of the broadcasts, and you know, and you might not expect that, you know, our customer support specialist would also be like diving into the lore of the world and crafting amazing stories. And like we heard earlier, Megan is, is doing lighting as well as social media. So yeah, it's a massive team effort, and you know, we couldn't do it without the whole studio.
So we should introduce also the other members that we're bringing in from our marketing department. Alan Diekfus. Do you want to put your face up there and say something to us?
Not dead yet.
Hello. Am I on here? I don't know if it's
Yes,
working.
you are on here. Thank you,
Okay.
Alan. So Alan is an artist. He does a lot of sort of the graphic art, graphic design that is involved in the game. Not only did he do a lot of the original designs for some of our UI and stuff inside the game, but also anytime you see a really amazing screenshot coming from our team, Alan is probably the one who like set that thing up, framed it up, and put it together for you. Also, he does like movies and things like that. Like he was deeply involved in some of the trailers that we've made. So, Alan, it's great to have you here. I'm glad the audience finally gets to meet you for the first time.
Glad to be here.
And then on top of Alan, we've also got, well, he's not literally on top of Alan, but on top of Alan, we've also got Joe Swarner here, who you all know. Joe, do you want to say hi to the audience?
We should build some new rooms.
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Swing a hammer.
Happy Wednesday, happy release day, and welcome back to Trumbull Valley.
So yeah, so this team, in addition to Megan, this is sort of the team that gets together a lot of the time to plan things like our live streams, like our trailers, like our, a lot of the communication we do with the outside world. And we've actually done a lot of very special stuff to promote the Homecoming update. And it was probably one of the things that was driving us crazy was we had all of these big plans for so long, but we couldn't talk about this because a huge part of marketing something like this is making sure that all of the information drops at the right time. And so, like, leading up to Gamescom, we had to be so quiet about everything we were doing, but there was so much going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, our work follows the developers' work. So, you know, we're watching as things get developed, but we're really not in there, you know, working on the assets until things are in a polished phase. So we really dovetail and really ramp up at the end. So it's always like a massive flurry. Like this morning was just, you know, it's true for everyone who's on the release cycle, but yeah, just a massive flurry of pushing things live. But this was kind of fun to hold this kind of like secret until a week before. You know, we announced it Gamescom, that was on the 24th, and then launched today. And what was really cool is having not only these really amazing assets, the premiere trailer, getting to be, you know, having that segment on the Xbox Gamescom stream, but then also having this really nice breathing period where we had a week to, you know, get that content into the beta and start messaging out, you know, more information about what is going to be in the update. Because when there's such a huge amount of features like there is in this update and our last update, honestly, We've had 2 insanely packed updates back to back. And there's so much that you don't want people to miss it all, right? Because it's just there's so many great things that you want them to know about. And sometimes it's a little quality of life fix that's like buried in the patch notes. People are like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You heard us. So it's super nice to have not only like the fun of like a really big reveal, but then also like this breathing room where we can kind of take you guys through it and talk about things like, here's the lighting, or let's look at the new environments, and like you said earlier, like fixing the curbs, like things like that. That video will be out tomorrow, by the way, on our channel.
Oh yeah, the little video that I made, yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of drive around and just show how beautiful and huge this world is while we're talking. So by the way, you mentioned the Xbox Wire interview. A bunch of people in the chat are actually recognizing you from that interview that you did. They're like, oh, I know her. That's Wanda Russell, and they're getting all excited to see you. So hello, chat.
Hi, friends.
Wonder is famous.
No, it's the dogs that are famous. I have this puppy in my lap.
Oh my
Let's
gosh.
be honest. Let's be honest. It's all about the babies.
All right, so we built a lot of stuff to sort of to share with people. You know, people who are watching the stream right now, they're probably aware of the stuff we've already done on the stream. You know, the tours that we've done of the map, talking with Andy about the story, and we've got more of these planned going forward. But we've also built some sort of like some pre-recorded, beautifully edited trailers and stuff like that for to let people know what's going into this game. Like we had the one that launched at Gamescom, which we've actually been working on for a really, really long time in the background.
Yeah, that one actually was that one was done remarkably early because of just scheduling that we ended up having and working with the vendor who had their own scheduling. So yeah, that was done, I'd say, earlier this summer, and really it was just kind of waiting. But Alan should talk about the trailer that we did that launched today, sort of our launch day. Hey, it's out now.
Yeah, Alan, do you want to give people? So I'm about to show the trailer, but Alan, do you want to give people sort of a little bit of a preview of sort of what the purpose of what the idea was behind this trailer and sort of the work that went into making this little live action teaser that we've got?
Yeah, totally. We used to make these kind of fun live action trailers back in the day before COVID. If you remember, we had one for, I think that was the kind of the cow pig mask. I don't know if you guys remember that one.
Yeah.
We released that. We also did something for the outfit changing. You could switch outfits on your survivors.
Was that the one where was it Noel that was like trying on a bunch of different outfits?
Absolutely. the Oscar-nominated Noel. He was our guy doing that. And he did a great job. And we used him again for this little live action trailer. His hand is what is actually the zombie
I didn't
hand
recognize his hand. It usually is buried in my computer when something goes wrong. So.
Yeah, he's just as an actor, he gets into the role that you just can't remember. So I think the real goal was to just kind of create like a kind of fun supplement to all the other fun stuff that we're doing. That's just kind of I just love doing live action stuff. Again, I work on a lot of live action stuff on the side, and I always have there's always something fun to see that, not just another kind of fun, cool, awesome action game trailer, which are great, but also something that kind of supplement that's just kind of nerdy and fun. And that's what kind of went with this.
Yeah, one thing that, for folks who know Alan, it's like there's nobody I think who's sort of has a better encyclopedic knowledge of like kitschy old cool stuff from different decades. Like I don't know, whenever there's something like that, you're the one I usually go to if I want to find out, what's cool about something that I don't even recognize from the 80s because I was a small child. You'll know all about it. I think you leaning into sort of that understanding of old nostalgia and kitsch was a lot of what made this trailer work really well.
Yeah, and that's kind of the vibe of this. And again, this was meant to be a tease. And again, it's just to get you excited. I think, it's just you're like, it's just a one camera move out, you're just dollying out, and it's also created. The idea of it was just created because I thought, I don't even know if I can leave my house. I mean, a lot of these ideas are the indie filmmaker way of like, it's one shot, we can move it back and it shows a thing and you're done, right? Just because that's all we can do, right? I was going to have my wife be the hand. There's stuff like that, but luckily Talk Wonder, we were able to get, Microsoft actually helped us build a little set actually over at their studio. So that whole set in that shot we straight up built that, went to Goodwill, bought some stuff, and this was over a course of 2 days.
I was gonna ask you, let me show this real quick so we can actually get into some of the details of how this thing was put together, because I was fascinated by that. I had no idea how you put this thing together, and so I was really wanting to ask. Let's let the audience see what we're talking about so we can talk about some of these details. So let me. Where is my button for that? Here it is.
Right now, the entertainment event the whole family remembers all year long. The Trumbull County Fair. The most thrilling ride. The most fascinating Disney shows. 12 full days of fun starting from Disney
So yeah, there was the teaser. So let me just play this again real quick. I'll turn down the volume a little bit so we can talk. But so where did you get all of this footage? This is great. Like, I assume you didn't go out and shoot it someplace.
I wish. This is actually stock footage that I just went looking everywhere I could just to find some sort of like creepy stock footage that could work for this. It's surprising there's not a lot of footage of fair stuff, like fairground stuff that I could find. I even wanted clowns. I couldn't even find clowns.
You couldn't find footage of clowns? I guess people are just too scared of them.
Of clowns, which was really getting me sad and depressed. I really want a creepy clown in there. But we found this footage. It was actually edited like this, and I kind of liked how edited it was. It was just kind of roughly put together, and I think that's kind of the vibe of what we wanted to feel. That was like a small town. I come from a small town, Wisconsin. You can hear it in my accent. That these commercials back then, they threw stuff together and they put crappy graphics on the screen. They don't have any graphic designers. The kind of vibe that I think in Trumbull Valley that, it was a small town. Maybe they had some guy who made this commercial for this local county fair. And it was just playing. And I was gonna go crazy and put graphics all over it and make it even more cheesy. But the more I put into it, the more it looked like it was to someone who knew what they're doing, if that makes sense. You had to almost pull back and just say, it's just this text and it does that and it doesn't match there and here, and it kind of fit better. So that's kind of the idea of that. And then the idea of the zombie hand. And then on the table, if you look in the environment, there actually is there's a little survivor on top of the TV, the actual survivor light that survivors have.
Okay.
There's actually the actual model that we modeled it after that is on the characters in the game.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so did we scan or just use that thing for reference when we were actually building their lights, and now it's just sitting there in the real world, right up there. You can see
asked them the concept artist for it, what it was, and I bought it, and then I kind of roughed it all up and made it, look as close as I could to it. And there's also just like fun props, like there's cool overgrowth that came in that Wonder brought in. She kind of we called it clean garbage to put around the set because we couldn't put real garbage everywhere in Microsoft. I'm sure they'd hate that. So we put just trash everywhere we could. We bought these, really cheesy looking, wood 70s, cabinets to hold the TV. The TV was probably the hardest part to get. Wonder and me were looking everywhere for an old CTR that could do this. We could just put this on.
Megan actually found it in like a local Buy Nothing group, and which was kind of amazing, and then was able to pick it up. And she also designed the ticket that the zombie is holding.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Fun fact about the zombie is he also works at Undead Labs. That's Noel, and he's the guy in our outfits trailer when we first came out with the outfits update that he's changing into all his different outfits. So he's reprising his role as
I guess he's a zombie now. He wasn't a zombie back then, but he is now.
Now he's a zombie. I mean, that's how it works.
The ongoing saga, yeah. So and also if you all want to meet Noel, we actually did a stream where he was our guest. If you look for look up IT on our channel, he's our IT guy, and you'll totally see you get to meet the guy. He's fascinating to talk to. So definitely spend some time looking at that. So was all this, you said this is like built on a soundstage? Is that what happened?
Yes, correct. If you see the one of our dev videos, I think the one before for the last update, if I'm correct, we have a talking head video, we call it.
Right.
Where you talk
I was in that room.
You were in it, I believe.
It was that room?
I think you're actually in that room. That is the room. Yeah. So that exact space is what we made this.
So I sat in here trying to sell water to the audience. This exact same space.
Yeah,
and you just dressed it up to look completely different. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. And a lot of that is, and that's lighting. Another thing is, key is, I worked with another person there, and we were just lighting all day. Most of the time is us just getting it lit right to make it have that vibe from a screenshot. We actually just took a reference of a screenshot I took and just trying to recreate that lighting and this feel of a midday afternoon, not midday, later in the day, the sun's kind of coming through, that vibe of a kind of dirty house, like all that smoke and steam. That's like 4 canisters of air that we were shooting through the air that Wonder was doing, I was doing. We were both kind of spraying it because we couldn't even put a fog machine in the studio there. So
I was wondering about that.
Purple.
Yeah, because that's not what it usually looks like inside of a room, but with sort of the fog coming in, but it makes it feel so atmospheric and so dusty. It's like I can feel like I can breathe the dust of this old room by watching with the lights streaming through the air.
That's the cinematic stuff. That's the juice that makes everything cinematic, is that kind of, haze that they call it. You put it in everything. So.
The haze was great, and the blinds are actually picked up by Media Lab. Got them at Goodwill, and then dragged them around in the parking lot to make them look really beat up, so it would have that feeling of one of the abandoned houses in the game. So I love that you didn't recognize it,
Oh
Geoffrey.
yeah, no, of course. Yeah, that's great. I had no idea that's where you had done this. That's great. So it's so fun to like, again, a lot of this stuff, it's really easy for it to sort of just disappear into the background when you're an audience member and say, oh yeah, they went to a place in the zombie apocalypse and shot this. But no, like every detail of this had to be thought through. Like I said, dragging them around in the parking lot. You couldn't just put the blinds up. You had to make them look messed up in exactly the right way. And so like some of the solutions are fairly simple, but you have to think them through and you have to actually do them in order to create an atmosphere like that.
Yeah, and then behind there, those are two LCDs that are lighting the scene. Actually, those windows, those are two TVs that are actually with a sunset we put on the display, so it creates that kind of sun.
There's not even like lights back there; it's televisions.
There's two televisions. Those are televisions that are made to look like windows. Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So lots of fun stuff. The makeup on the hand, Wonder actually did that. We just got something off Amazon. We're not makeup artists. She put it together, it looked great. We get the lighting. We just one angle we couldn't do because it's his hand a little bit more. So his hand's kind of floating in the frame a little more than I kind of wanted. I wanted him a little bit more in there, but we have to kind of angle it so it looks as best as we can get it for that type of stuff because we were using one big camera slide. So I was just pulling the camera back, and then the actor kind of moves into the frame as much as he can. And that's kind of how we did that. And we actually tried to shoot blood on the hand at the end. That was the other. We kind of wanted a kind of fun moment to happen at the end of that trailer instead of just the howl. We kind of wanted blood to fall across the thing, but Wonder was like trying it and she's like, this is just too thick. And she's like throwing the blood on it and it was hilarious. I think we have an outtake which is like splattering really weird on there, but
good outtake.
Yeah, blood is hard to work with at times on films. I've had blood shot on me on films I've worked on before and all over my camera, so this isn't anything new. It's just we're like, yeah, it works. So
it's so cool to see sort of like the amount of for even just a trailer that is this short and this simple, the amount of sort of love and care that goes into this. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about working on this team is the fact that, nothing is slapdash. Like we put so much time and care into each little detail of something like this. There's somebody, when you watch something like this, it can pass by you really fast, but a lot of love goes into this work. I'm so glad that you gave the audience a tour of what actually went into this because it is just fascinating to hear about. I should actually pull Joe in because we should talk about the other sort of bit of teaser media that we created, which was really originally his idea. Joe, do you want to give people sort of a rundown of, actually, you know what? Let me just show this broadcast and then we'll talk to Joe about it. This is one of our Desi broadcasts.
CQ, Whiskey Alpha 7, Charlie Oscar Lima. Okay, folks. If you're returning to Trumbull Valley, you are not alone. From what I can tell, everybody's been poking around there. From Red Talon and the network to maybe the actual army. People are going back to the valley. But I'll be here, listening, and sharing information on what happened. Stay safe. Wasp 7 Cool out.
So that is the 13th of a series of videos. That's the one that was just released today, sort of with this character Desi giving people some hints about what's going on in Trumbull Valley. Joe, do you want to sort of talk a little bit about where this came from, like where the inception of this idea was?
So I think it was back in June. We were talking about what it is that we wanted to, how we wanted to tease this content. And I was like, what would be really fun is what Megan came up with. Was she actually came up with this idea where we would have like this social media thing or some sort of like Twitter back and forth, right? Where something to do with our social media. I don't remember what the original inception was.
Talking to each other or something like that. You wanted to have some kind of
kind of, and then I kind of went forward with that a little bit. I was like, let's just make it a full-on Twitter flame war. And so I wrote the first draft, and my first feedback was, this is a little too catty, Joe. You're a little too spot on for how toxic Twitter can be. And I was like, okay, no problem. And then Wander was like, so what if we just made it like, maybe it's just like some kind of a radio broadcast thing, kind of like we have in the rest of the game. And I was like, oh crap, we could do like ham radio operators. And so I did a little bit of YouTube searching for like what it takes to do some basic ham radio operation and what people sound like when they're sort of speaking. over ham radio. You keep it short. You know, you use the and this is where sort of the intro of each one came in. Is that there are certain like country codes, there are certain codes that countries get, and like W, A, B, a bunch of those are like U.S. specific. And so I was like, okay, so these folks were ham radio operators. They're gonna have a call sign if they have a ham radio, because they lived before, you know, the whole apocalypse went down. And so I came up with this call sign. WA is within the US. 7 means that it's in the Pacific Northwest. And then the COL, I wanted to put it pretty firmly. There are a lot of towns in the Pacific Northwest that start with those 3 letters. And so I wanted to put it firmly in here without necessarily naming the town.
That's a
and so
pretty
I
clever
came
idea.
So I came up with the call sign. Still planting Desi very firmly here in the Pacific Northwest, and keeping our theme of it could be anywhere up here for our maps and for our story, keeping that in the forefront of my mind. And then I started trying to write okay, so each one needed to tease a specific piece of content that's actually in the Trumbull Valley story stuff. And so I started breaking it down, and I sat down with Andy, and we went over what are the things that need to be teased, how can I approach this, and then I started writing the dialogue after having come up with the character. And then Andy, of course, being a fastidious writer, was like, I need more about this character. I need more in this dialogue. We need less here. And it was just super awesome going through that creative process with him.
Yeah, there's a lot of players from the first time these broadcasts started showing up who was like, who's Desi? Who's Desi? Who's Desi? And I love the fact that you two put so much work into sort of fleshing this character out. And by the time you've watched all 13 broadcasts, you do kind of have a sense of who Desi is.
Yeah. She's just kind of this person that's out there kind of living alone, is very happy to be living alone, but she still wants some of that interpersonal relationship. And now that we don't know where the internet went, the ham radio the ham radio coming up was awesome. Some other things, Alan is the one who came up with some of the video parts. Like the wonderful
the glitchiness.
Nope, that was actually Megan.
Okay, cool.
But this wonderful shot of this ham radio, it's just sitting here. Alan actually built that.
What?
Inside? Yeah, he built that inside of Unreal and then took those shots.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, it was super awesome. And Megan saw this, and so she was like, would this work? And we put up and when the little sporadic going in and out of focus thing, and the numbers that you see, the green numbers that you see in the background, that was Megan's work. And so this whole process just has been a huge collaboration for a lot of people who are very passionate about this game and very passionate about this project. I won't say much more because I don't. But even working with the voice actor that we had, who is one of my favorite content creators, we may release that name later, or some of you may already know. But anyway, it was really fun just sitting down with her and doing a reading of the script once we had it somewhat finalized. And then helping her to get a sense for who Desi was and is, and the direction we were going with the broadcast in general. So it's super awesome seeing just how much of the community, not just inside but outside of Undead Labs, helped us bring this all together. And that's who we're doing it for, is the folks outside of the lab. And it's super awesome to see how excited they are.
Yeah, one of the things that I really like about the way that stories are told in State of Decay is the fact that we don't tend to just sit down with you, open up a book, and tell you a story. This game is much more about sort of creating a world through sort of hints and sort of nudging you in one direction or another, and then the world sort of it really kind of the story kind of comes together in your head as a result of all of these different pieces that sort of come together. So each of these pieces, is people spend a lot of time and effort sort of creating each of them, specifically thinking of how is this going to come together to create this sort of final whole that you put together in your own head as a combination of all of the things you're hearing over the radio, all the things you're observing in the world, the discoveries that you're finding, and then the experiences that you have yourself, what you and your characters do, and what happens to your own people. All of that kind of comes together to create this world and this story that really exists much more in your mind than it does in any piece of media. And so, but it's kind of cool because we're not, because most of what we're working with is hints. It means that each of those little hints can get a lot of love and care from all of this huge variety of individuals who are all contributing to it. So, yeah,
well, and that is one of the things that I've really appreciated about this opportunity to tell this story, is not just that like I get to tell the story, ha 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 ha, but it's more like, how do you tell this story in such a way that feels authentically like you're in the world, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that, while I love zombie fiction, one of the things that annoys me the most is when people start explaining the zombies, where they came from, or like, this is all because of lunar vibrations or whatever, like toxic lunar vibrations. Like it's ridiculous. Like that's when you lose me, right? As long as there's a mystery, as long as there's some mystery, like your average survivor is never going to find out where this stuff came from. And the story is very much more about the community and the survivors that are in it than it is about where did this come from.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're much more interested in telling a story about survival and like what people are capable of doing under like the most dire of circumstances, rather than sort of a mystery story about some clever idea we had about how zombies might work. It's like we do have clever ideas like that feel very good to us, but we're probably not quite as clever as we think we are. And if we actually told you all of the thoughts in our heads, most of you would be like, that's kind of lame. But that's that's not what we're doing.
Exactly.
We don't want to tell that
exactly. But I do want to make sure that everybody who helped in any way, shape, or form what we had and then what we came up with those Desi broadcasts gets a big thank you. I think I've named everybody. If I've missed anybody, I'm really, really sorry.
I would shout out Andy too, and just as our time is coming to a close, also just remind people that we have another trailer coming live right after the live stream, so stick around. And that will have its premiere afterward. It's Ray Santos welcoming you to Trumbull Valley, shouting out Andy on the team just because he's the narrative director and is responsible for so many of the stories that you see in Trumbull Valley, and then was really helpful in kind of guiding our team working on, well, how do we keep expanding the lore and and share the stories.
Yeah, so actually, real quick, because before other folks get in here, I think Mark has already joined us, but before Dan gets in here, do you want to sort of give people a little bit of a preview of sort of this additional trailer that we've yet to show you? What this one is there to do, why we made this one in addition to all of these others?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, Ray Santos is, a long-standing character in the game, and he is really kind of giving you a tour, a welcome to like, hey, welcome home, welcome to my valley. He's kind of like the guardian of Trumbull Valley after Lily left. So the tour kind of takes you around to some of the landmarks that are new in Trumbull Valley and kind of gets you some hints about where stories may be going or what characters you will encounter and how things may have shifted since the events of Heartland. So especially, it might be helpful, if you haven't played the first game, if you haven't played the Heartland campaign, this might be a good place to start.
Yeah, because we know that there are some players who have spent a lot of time in their lives in Trumbull Valley, and there's some players who have spent very little. And some of the players who played in Trumbull Valley, the last time they played there was in 2013. And so we wanted to make sure that people had enough of a reminder to let them to sort of bring them up to speed and remind them, hey, this is what's going on in this valley. This is what you already remember from your past experiences here, so that they can be up to speed as they're sort of getting started with some of these stories. So it's a really great sort of primer, but it also sort of sets a tone and the atmosphere for the story and what it's about. So I'm looking forward to people seeing it. That is going to premiere at 3 o'clock right after this stream is done. So Wonder, thank you so much for coming here and telling people about, all the work that you did leading up to this update.
It's always a team effort. It's always a pleasure. I mean, really, we're here to amplify the amazing work that, the studio does. And you guys make our jobs easy.
I should also say goodbye to Joe. Joe, do you want to say goodbye to the audience?
Well, of course I do, Geoffrey. I like having my face on screen too. But anyway, no, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting us and allowing us to do what we love and showing us the same amount of love over the course of this whole pandemic that we hope that you guys understand. Anyway,
yeah, and so
since Brant's not here to show the love today because he's off doing Brant things, I just want to make sure that everybody knows we love you, we appreciate you, and thank you.
And I should also mention that Joe is going to be hosting our next stream that we do on our normal. It's not going to be on our normal time. It's going to be about a week from today, next Wednesday at 3. Joe's going to be hosting a tour of the bases of Trumbull Valley. So if you're looking for some strategy and some updates about that, he and Lucy and Brant are going to give us a tour. Let's also say goodbye to Alan. Alan, do you want to say goodbye to the audience?
Bye, everyone.
And it's that simple.